Do you feel drawn to learn more about spirituality, witchcraft, and the occult, but feel lost on where to start? Then welcome to Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft, a podcast all about what it means to be a witch and where to get started on your journey.
Join us as we navigate through various witchy topics and share what we have learned about the craft. So get in, witches, and let's discuss mundane magic.
How are you on this? I don't even know what today is. Friday.
Tuesday.
On this Tuesday.
That's what my grandpa used to call it.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know, he was like Dutch, and so he said his T is funny.
Yeah.
So it's a Tuesday.
That's how Avery says it. Tuesday.
When I was a kid, I was like, so we get to pick? I didn't understand, like, it was like the accent.
Yes.
So then it's Friday?
Right.
And he's like, no, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Oh, so yeah. Confused. So we choose the day.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday.
So, you know what we did not do last episode?
What?
We didn't talk about Ostara. We even had it in the notes.
What did we not do?
Yeah. What was it? Yeah.
Wow.
So whenever this episode is released, sorry, everyone. We'll do an Instagram post, but we totally failed you.
We definitely failed you. Look, This is what you get. This is who we are.
This is who we are. And not to mention, we're recording this in February. So, oops. We had it in our notes and then we just didn't even think to bring it up. I completely forgot. Yeah. Every intention to bring it up, talk about it, discuss some things that you can do. And then neither one of us remembered, and it is what it is.
Yeah. This is what you get listening to this podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly from the first episode, we said it. Two idiots making a podcast, and that is what you get.
What you get, yeah.
So there will be an Instagram post, and we'll share it on Twitter and Facebook and everything as well of what we are doing for Ostara.
We're doing our best here.
So episode 4, we're going to be discussing mundane magic. So when we talk about mundane, that is usually in reference to non-witchy or non-occult related things, but what we mean by mundane magic is really just ways in which you can bring witchcraft into your everyday. Witchcraft doesn't have to be a big production. You don't need fancy equipment, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on supplies. You would be surprised at how everyday things can be used in magical ways. There is so much magic in the mundane. It's really all just about the intention.
So in terms of magic or witchcraft, mundane magic might be what you consider things that you can do easily with little to no preparation. And some of these things are practiced with people not even knowing that they're magic. A lot of people will see a trend in the news, on social media. They see a celebrity doing something. And then with TikTok, of course, we all know like witch talk. There's all kinds of stuff that people do on there, and they'll use that as a practice in their own life, but not understand that what they're doing is something that's rooted in witchcraft. And then you see a lot of things that big box stores sell, which we talked about in, I think, the last episode, like Urban Outfitters, Walmart, Sephora. Earthbound is another one that sells a lot of stuff like this, but it'll be like witchy starter kits, or they'll just sell like sage and say that it's like, oh, cleanse your home, but it doesn't list it as being witchy or witchcraft. So people do these things not even realizing that they're doing witchcraft. Some of the simple examples that can be seen as like mundane magic or mundane witchcraft are research or just reading about witchy topics, learning, meditating, setting your intentions for the day, working with the moon phases, or things like making moon water is another one that it was like a trendy thing. And I've seen so many of my friends like posting making moon water, but not realizing why they were doing it or what the point of it was. You can enchant food or drinks by stirring your intentions into them, like clockwise to infuse, counterclockwise to pull out. And some other practices that many people do without realizing they have witchy roots are like wishing on birthday candles, wishing on dandelions, incorporating herbs into foods or medicines or teas for different ailments. Like, what is it? It's peppermint for a stomach ache, lavender to like help you sleep, chamomile to help you sleep. Those kinds of things come from like kitchen witchery. And then things like crossing your fingers, you know, like everybody crosses your fingers for like good luck. It's also rooted in pre-Christian pagan era, and it's tied to the solar cross.
Yeah. And then another one too that I just thought of was the tooth fairy. And I don't even know the roots behind it exactly or why there are pagan roots or witchy roots tied to it. But I just know I've heard that the tooth fairy has its roots in paganism. And if you are, or I guess just witchcraft in general, I'm not sure which one, but I've seen that a few times on a few TikToks that I've watched where I didn't realize that that was the case. And it's really interesting to think about.
I think there's so much that goes into like old folklore, that's made it into like children's fairy tales and all kinds of stuff like that, that it's rooted in old pre-Christian pagan era. So a lot of it comes from that, but it like gets transferred into like children's stories or fairy tales or whatever.
Right. And I wonder if too, because that there is, I don't know a ton about scrying or using mirrors in witchcraft, but I wonder if if you break a mirror, you get, what is it, like 7 years of bad luck?
7 years of bad luck.
Something like that. Yeah. I wonder if that has its roots in witchcraft as well, just because of the whole scrying thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That might be something we have to research, but.
That might make for an interesting, like, future episode to go through old wives' tales and superstitions that maybe are rooted in old pagan or witchcraft.
Yeah, that would be super interesting.
Okay, so we mentioned working with herbs or putting herbs into your food or medicine or your teas, but historically, there has been archaeological evidence that indicates that the use of medicinal plants dates back to the Paleolithic age, so approximately 60,000 years ago. Digs have found remains of medicinal plants like opium, poppies, ephedra, and cannabis. And there's actual written evidence of herbal remedies that date back to over 5,000 years in the Sumerians, who compiled lists of plants. Many witches focus on working with herbs and plants, using them for health or ailments, and aligning a plant's magical properties with their work. Herbs can be used in teas, in meal preparation, bath soaps, salves, tinctures, tonics, shrubs, honey, and so much more. When working with herbs, just make sure you set your intentions and try to focus that intention into your work, whether it's kneading bread, like while you're kneading bread, put your intention into the bread while you're mixing your herbs into it, or when you're stirring your tea, like I mentioned earlier, if you stir it clockwise, you're putting your intention into it. If you're stirring it counterclockwise, you're pulling it out, those kinds of things.
Yes, exactly. And depending on what you are wanting to bring in, there's different ingredients that you can use in your cooking, or just say, for instance, just for a cup of coffee in the morning, a mug of tea in the morning or at night, you can set that intention. It can help with manifestation by adding specific ingredients. So some of the things that I like to add, cinnamon, which I don't think that a lot of people know, like just how versatile cinnamon can be, because it can help with things like happiness and fertility, but it can also help with energy, and it can help boost your metabolism anyway. And so if you are wanting to manifest, a healthy weight, or wanting to manifest that energy that you need in the day, or happiness, whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you can add that into your coffee and just, like you were saying, Tiffany, stir clockwise to bring that manifestation to light. And it's all about putting that intention in there. So another herb that I use a lot with my teas is mint. And I like that you can use that for, obviously it has a lot of different meanings, and it just depends on what you're trying to manifest and what you're trying to bring into your life. But it can be used in protection. It can be used in peace manifestations, and also for happiness, fertility as well. What else can mint be used for?
Medicinally, it's good for, it's calming, good for upset stomachs, for headaches. You can do like an oil for rub it on your temples. It has a slew of things that it can be good for. We had like a ridiculous amount of mint last spring in our garden, all variations. My husband loves mint. And so we brought a ton of it in and made a couple of different tinctures with it and put it in little dropper bottles. And you can put it you can mix it in like a drink or add it to your tea, or you can just take the tincture every day to help with if you have stomach issues or whatever.
That's amazing.
Just fantastic. And then you were saying with the cinnamon, we put cinnamon in our coffee every morning. We just scoop the grounds into our like reusable like Ninja coffee filter thing. And then we sprinkle cinnamon on top, close it, and let it infuse into our coffee.
Oh, that's a really good way of adding it in there, because I usually just add it towards the top after I'm done pouring it. But
then it leaves that film. I'm really weird about textures, and like it gets a little grainy in your coffee, and I don't like that. But if you let it infuse in the coffee grounds while it brews, it doesn't do that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do that. Yeah, because that makes so much more sense to me, and I like that better. Usually we don't use the coffee pot, we'll use like the French press, and so I can just add a little bit into the grounds before we let the coffee steep or whatever, and then pour it in. That's amazing.
It's so good. It makes the coffee taste so good too.
Yes. And then I just read in our the Green Witch book, which we will list obviously with all our resources in the show notes. But apparently cinnamon also helps with psychic awareness as well, which is amazing. And I know like we can discuss psychic awareness, and I'll mention something about it in our meditation episode next week. But just knowing that too is amazing, since that's something that we've been talking about just privately within our own conversations together, which is awesome.
I don't know. I probably have like 7 herbal, like witchy herbal books, and then a couple that are just regular, like everyday herbal books that I use constantly. Like I'm constantly, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to bake bread today, I turn around and I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to put into it? Or like, I I infuse honey. I'm doing like a elderflower and not infusion. Well, I mean, it's kind of an infusion, but it's a cordial, because I love to add elderflower cordial to my gin and tonics because it's so good. And then you feel like you're being like kind of healthy.
Yes. Yes. Well, and then I feel like too, I was thinking about this earlier. I would love to make, because, here in the UK, gin is the go-to drink of choice for pretty much, outside of beer, for everybody. And there's so many different types of gin and so many different flavorings. And Mike, my husband, he doesn't really care for any of the added flavors in any of the gins. And I like them. I think that they're really good, but obviously some of them can feel a little bit too heavy or like too syrupy. And so I think it would be awesome to work with some of these different herbs to infuse my own flavored gin, and then put those manifestations in there. And maybe I can work with like lavender or something, since that is more calming herb anyway. And since at the end of the night, like if I really want a gin and tonic and I want to just relax, like that would be a great way to manifesting relaxation into my life a bit more.
Yeah. So like with this one, you make a simple syrup with just sugar and water on the stove, and then let it cool. And then you add elderflower, lemon juice, and lemon zest into it, and then just let it sit for like 4 days.
Wow.
And then it's good for like a whole month, which is nice, because the one I buy at the store is only good for 7 days when you open it, which I don't know if that's actually accurate. I feel like they just put it on there to put it on there, but
you never know. I know. I'm so iffy about it. Mike's just like, there are like guidelines, like, in Pirates of the Caribbean, whenever they're talking about parlay, and they're like, it's like more like guidelines anyway. And so I always think of that in my head whenever he's telling me, because literally in any expiration date for anything, he's just like, well, those are more like guidelines. And I'm like, how do you know that though? Because I feel like I don't want to take the chance.
I'm that way with certain things. Like Anthony will be like, this spice is past its expiration date, and it'll be like 2 days past. And I'm like, just use it. It's fine. It's a spice.
Right.
But if it's like dairy, I'm like, absolutely not.
No, it's going straight in the trash.
Unless it's cheese. If it's cheese, I'm like, is there mold on it? It's fine.
If not, it's fine. I can't even, I don't know. It depends. If it's like Parmesan cheese, I'm like, okay, we can do that. But if it's like block cheddar or something, I'm just like, I know it's just in my head that I can taste the difference. And Mike's just like, it tastes the exact same. And I'm just like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I can't. Let's talk about cooking magic. Magic and cooking.
Magic. Something I found, and I hadn't heard of this until I started doing research for this, but I read something that said eating high vibrational foods can change our own energy and our frequency. And high vibrational foods are those that are full of life force energy. It is a combination of the source and quality of your food combined with intention and preparing your meal. So think like organic, local, whole grain or heirloom grains, free range and quality, like free range quality meats. So,
Wow.
and this is something that we didn't really do this. Like, it wasn't like we're only going to do this now, but we've started shopping at like local farms out of Missouri and Illinois around here. And one of our favorites is such and such farms. And we've been getting like, I think only sell pork. It's the only thing we've bought from them, but they do really good like summer sausages and stuff. And you can go to the farm and see their happy little pigs that have all this like just free land to run around on. And they have little goats that they make like soaps and stuff out of, but like out of the milk, not out of the goat. But the quality, like we bought like ribs and the summer sausage and stuff from them for Super Bowl because, you know, we had people over and Anthony likes to smoke meat. So he did ribs and I cut up all the summer sausage and put it out and everybody was just like, oh my God, where did you get this? It's so good. And I was like, it's a local farm with like free happy pigs. Look at the pigs. Because their whole Instagram is just these cute little pigs running around and they all have names and it's precious, but you really do like taste the difference in it. And then you're getting higher quality. So it's more like nutrient dense.
Yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of definitely trying to buy local and trying to buy organic and especially just too, because it is better for the environment anyway. Like, why would you not want to do that? And the whole point of, I mean, not the whole point, but a huge thing with paganism and witchcraft and everything is being tied to the earth. And it doesn't mean that you have to be vegan or vegetarian or anything like that, but making sure that whenever you are buying something, you're not contributing to these big business companies that are just terrible for the environment and are doing things that are harming animals and harming other people. And that's a whole nother episode in and of itself. But just like a really quick tangent, like if you can and you can afford to, or you have a local farm or farmers market that you can go to obtain like locally sourced produce and meats, definitely do that. It's better for you. It's better for the environment. And I've never heard of this high vibrational foods,
right?
How it can influence our energy and our own frequency. And that's amazing.
I thought it was really cool. And then the same article gave a couple examples. So blueberries were one of their main examples. And if you've ever looked at a blueberry, the top where the stem comes out is actually in a 5-pointed star.
Yes.
So they used that as like, it's where the stem naturally connects, but it's a 5-pointed star. So it ties to paganism and witchcraft. And then lemons are not only are they like bright and colorful, like which are like cheerful or like happy colors, they're excellent purifiers. So yeah, you can use lemons for cleansing to help rid the body of germs and the spirit of negative energy. And then lemons, you can add them to your floor wash or window wash to help cleanse your house as well. That was another example that they gave.
You know, one of the things that I did whenever we were researching this is I ended up researching some of the spices that I use just daily life. And we eat a lot of chicken. And my go-to every time we make chicken is I always put paprika in chicken. And I, to the point where my husband and my kids are like, do you make the chicken the way you always make the chicken? I'm getting tired of eating this chicken all the time because I will make it like if we ever make chicken, that's just my go-to and I'm lazy and I know what I know it tastes good. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to make this and they'll either eat it or they'll starve. I don't know. But I looked at paprika just to see because I'm like, I wonder if paprika has like some sort of, magical qualities to it. And apparently paprika is great for, which is it's capsicum too.
Yeah.
In like Germany, right? It's great. It's a great antioxidant it's great for vitamin E and vitamin A, and it boosts energy and spellcraft. So there we go.
So for the longest time, I didn't think that flavored anything. Like I thought it was just decoration. My grandparents always put it on like deviled eggs, and that was the only thing I ever seen paprika used for, like growing up. And then Anthony and I, like when we got married, I swear there was a period in time where he bought paprika every time he went to the store. Like he would just go to the store and be like, I think we need paprika. And we had like 12 bottles. And he'd be like, we'd go to the store and he'd be like, I think we need paprika. And I'm like, no, we don't. Do we even use paprika?
How many deviled eggs are we making?
But now like I use it and all kinds of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I always never we never used it growing up either, unless it was on deviled eggs.
Yeah.
But
why is that like, the go-to?
I don't know why, or
potato salad.
Yeah,
my grandma would put it on top of potato salad or macaroni salad.
Yes. And I never used it. Like the first time I started using it I probably was like 26, so too old to not know. Yeah. But Mike's brother came home he used to be in the military as well. And he came home from where he was stationed at, and he was cooking chicken. And he's just like, oh, it's literally his go-to chicken recipe, I think. But he always put like paprika, and he's just like, it gives a really good color and a good flavor. And he made it. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. So good. And ever since then, I'm just like, and we're going to add paprika to this and paprika to that. And like, I'll put it in anything, and never know why or anything. Like I wasn't using it as like, oh, let's just boost the energy in my spellcraft. So from now on, I will, and I'll be able to harness that energy and that manifestation of paprika into my spell work. But
there we go.
There we go.
So some other ways that you can do cooking magic is you can sprinkle like your salt or herbs into symbols or sigils in your food to infuse your intentions into your meal. This is something that I have never done. I never even like thought to do that. But some of the examples, they were like, if you're just trying to really put some love into the food, draw a little heart with your herbs on top and then like stir it in clockwise. And I was like, something that simple.
Yes.
That simple.
You know what? I've never done this with seasoning, but I remember as a kid, like not as a kid, probably I was in junior high school, whenever everybody was like, oh my God, I'm like, I love this person. This is my boyfriend, or you had your school crushes. I remember writing my initials on one slice of bread with like mustard, and then on the other slice of bread, if I was making a sandwich, whoever I had a crush on at the moment, writing their name.
You're like,
that's what that reminded me. Yeah. And then smooshing it together, and there we go.
There we go.
But yeah, so that's really embarrassing to talk about now. I totally did that.
Really, really like weird thing. Like I listened to another podcast yesterday, and they were talking about things that they did, when they were like 9, like, oh, I'm going to be a witch. And they would do weird things. And then they're like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
Yes.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I never thought of doing that with seasoning. I'm going to have to try that.
Like cooking, I never thought of doing that. And then reading it, I was like, that's so simple. Something that like, especially if you're maybe in the closet and your family doesn't know and you're like cooking, you can do something that simple that doesn't need, you don't have to prepare for it or anything. These are things that you would already be using to cook.
And I think too, just being aware of it, that way you can set that intention to harness that energy. Once you're aware of the properties of whatever seasoning you're using, whatever herbs you're using, you can manifest and bring in that energy and make it more potent, instead of just, oh, I'm going to add this. And like with the paprika, looking back later, oh yeah, it can be used for this.
But that goes back to what we said earlier too. Like a lot of times you use these things and you don't even realize that like what you're doing does have, a magical property to it. Or something else that you can do for cooking magic. This isn't really like cooking for food to eat, but you can make simmer pots. So you would just like fill your pot with water, and then whatever herbs have the magical properties for the intentions that you want to set. And then you just simmer those on the stove for as long as you need to. And you can just add a little more water if it starts to run out. This is something my grandma used to do, this not on the stove, but she would do it in a mug or a cake tin in the oven with like vanilla and cinnamon and like allspice and stuff, and just like stick it in there, and it would make the whole house just smell so good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Like you're making your house smell amazing. And you're also, if you're making the simmer pot and putting those intentions and that energy in there, then you're also manifesting some pretty amazing things as well.
One of my favorite ones to do on the stove is cinnamon sticks, a little apple and lemon or orange slices, and then cloves, allspice, and bay. Makes your house smell amazing.
Oh,
and then
that
you get all the
sounds like
magical
it.
properties. And you can also take the water, let it cool, and then use it in like window wash or to clean your doors, to also like put the intentions into your windows and your doors and floor or whatever else you clean with it.
Yes, that's amazing. I've actually never done a simmer pot before, ever.
Probably the most easy thing you could ever do. It takes like
I'm
5 minutes to prep and then you just leave it alone.
going to have to do that. I'm going to do that this weekend.
Another thing I like to do is do herbal infused honeys. So you can use the honey daily in your tea, in your coffee, put it on your oatmeal, put it on a slice of bread, whatever. It'll just like help amplify the intentions that you set into it, the magical properties of the herbs that you're using. Just do 3/4 cup of honey and then maybe like 2 tablespoons of water. Bring that to a boil on the stove and then put 2 to 4 tablespoons of either loose leaf herbs just into the honey or put them in like a muslin bag and let them infuse into it for about 15 to 20 minutes and then strain it and put it in a jar and then just use it every day. I would just recommend find a book that you like, that has a format that you like, that goes over herbs and explains all of the information about them, like the medicinal and magical properties of plants. Make sure what you're using is obviously safe to ingest. Not every herb and leaf and plant out there is safe to eat. So make sure you're not using herbs that are going to make you sick or poison you. And then take the one that you like and use it as a staple in your practice. I said earlier, I've got like 7 different herbal books that are like witchy. And then I have a couple that are like more on like the medicinal side. I reference all of my books all the time before I make a tea or put an herb in anything, just to make sure, play it safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also to make sure that if you are growing herbs or just plants in general that you're going to be using in witchy practices, that not only are they safe for human ingestion, but make sure that they're safe for your animals too, if you have any animals, because you would be surprised how many plants there are that are not safe for animals, and you wouldn't think your animals would eat these plants, but let me tell you, they will eat anything. So just make sure, just make sure that when you are researching, you're also looking into how safe is this for myself? How safe is this if my cat or dog or child decided to put something in their mouth? So just make sure that you're aware of those things. And then also too, I think it's important, and this could be something that you use in building your witchy practice or just using in mundane magic as well, but it's building a book of shadows or a grimoire. And it doesn't have to be some leather-bound ancient text that you might see all over Pinterest or TikTok or just in TV shows and stuff. It could be something as simple as notes on your phone. I can't tell you how many notes I have added on my phone that are just random witchy things that I've come across that I'm just like, I have to add this as a note right now or I'm going to forget it. But making notes of that, and you can even make notes of anything that you like. If you're listening to a podcast and you come across some really great information, like what you're hearing on this podcast, make a note of it on your phone. Or if you're out and about somewhere and you stop by a bookstore and you see a book and it has a couple of amazing recipes that we would like to try, but you don't have the money to buy the book or you don't feel like buying the book at that point, take a couple pictures and then, just build your own library of resources and having something that you can reference to, because there is so much information out there. There's so many different properties to different ingredients. I mean, even like we were talking about mint and how there were some things that I knew about that, or some things that you knew about, Tiffany, that I didn't really know about when it came to mint. I mean, these are all different things that you can make notes of, and then it will become like second nature to you eventually.
Or you could be like me and I immediately Google whatever it is. So I have like 27 tabs open on my phone at any given time. And each tab is like a recipe for something, herbal properties or a certain product that I like heard about on a witchy podcast that I was like, I need to try this. So I just Google it and have the tab open. So every time I go on my phone, I'm like, oh, I need to do all these things.
Yes.
It drives Anthony crazy.
Same.
He'll be like, oh, can I use your phone really quick? And he'll like try to search something. He's like, why do you have all these tabs? And I'm like, please don't close any of them. Open a new one.
Exactly.
Don't mess up my tabs.
Anytime my husband goes to use my computer, I'm just like, he's always just like, what are you doing, Samantha? You have all these tabs open. And I'm like, I need every single one.
I need them all. Don't touch them.
Don't close anything.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that.
No, you are not. But if you want to be
crazy.
Yeah. No. You're normal. He's crazy.
He's crazy.
But if you want to be a little bit less chaotic, then maybe you could even just get a notebook and kind of jot down your ideas or anything that you've learned in a notebook or a Google Docs, whatever you want to use. Anything.
Whatever's your favorite medium.
Yes. Moving on from cooking onto something that hopefully everybody's doing every day, and that is either bathing or showering or
please shower daily.
Please shower, even if you're not washing your hair. Just a little PSA. Baths and showers can be a great way to incorporate some mundane magic. And as far as showers go, I mean, you can visualize the shower raining down on you as a way to wash away negative energy or just any sort of negative emotions, any illnesses or injuries you might have, visualizing when you're in the shower, the water washing away the negative emotions or illness or whatever that you're feeling. That can be a very powerful way to manifest something into your life.
Yeah. So visualize as the water like pours down you, it's washing that down the drain, and then visualize yourself being refreshed and revitalized as you're coming out of the shower.
And I feel like you, so if for those of you who don't know, and maybe, Tiffany will be able to share some of her amazing baths that she does, but she does a lot with baths and using different herbs and flowers and whatnot in her baths. And so I'm going to let her kind of discuss some of the things that she uses, because I feel like every time I go on Instagram, I'm always seeing your stories on all the cool things that you add to your baths and what you're manifesting. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I could live in the bath. Like if I didn't have to be an adult, I would just live in the bath all day. I absolutely love just being relaxed and smelling all the good smells and scents, and I put bath oils, everything. But I like to, this is something I've started doing more on my own. Whereas before I was buying like bath bombs or bath salts that had some of these herbs like in them. I still use bath bombs and bath salts, but now I do my own like bath teas. So you can add pretty much anything to your bath. You can add herbs, you can add flowers, you could do apples or oranges or blackberries or whatever you're trying to get out of just like calming yourself and relaxing in the bath. Those intentions and magical properties, you can put them straight into the bath. You can put them in a muslin bag, which is usually what I do unless they're bigger. I'll do like loose flowers like rose petals or hops, the hops cones, like the top of the hops, whatever it's called. But I'll put those straight into the bath because they're also very easy to like strain out at the end before you drain your water, because you don't want all of that going down your drain. You can do spices. I'll do like mint and lavender and chamomile, a lot of like calming, relaxing. Like that's what I like to be when I'm in the bath. I just like to be peaceful and loving, and like, rose petals for love and lavender for calm and chamomile for calm, those kinds of things. So yeah, you can add pretty much anything to your bath. Again, you can put it straight in the water, or you can put it in like a little muslin bag, like a tea bag, just let it steep.
And this can be segued into our next topic of daily appearance. But one of the things too, just a general information, if you're wanting to incorporate an herb or a flower or something like that into your bath, if you have roses lying around, those can be used in your bath as a way. I mean, obviously self-care anyway, but one of the magical properties or elements to rose petals is that it imbues self-confidence, and you can use that in your bath if you're wanting to manifest more self-confidence or, loving yourself more. Put some rose petals in your bath. Be thinking about all the ways in which you, as you are right now, are perfect and should be worshipped, and, use rose petals in that manifestation in your bath.
Rose petals is one of my favorite. I feel like I say that all the time. Like this is my favorite herb, but rose petals really are one of my favorites. I use it in teas. I use it in baths. Like literally everything I put rose petals on. It's such an easy, like most people might have a rose bush outside and you can dry your own. You can buy them. They're not expensive. Well, dried rose petals are not expensive and rose bushes aren't expensive. If you buy roses from like a florist, then of course you're going to pay a lot of money.
One of the things I will say, also depending on where you live, you might have more access to some of these. I will say when we were living in Oklahoma, I felt like anytime I would go to buy just flowers in general, I had a really hard time finding quality flowers that weren't super expensive. And then when we were living in St. Louis, I feel like maybe now it's a little bit more common to see, but I feel like we had to drive all the way to Trader Joe's to get some decent flowers that weren't super expensive. And I didn't know where exactly to go or where like a good florist in the area was that wasn't going to charge me like an arm and a leg for just some flowers. But if you are living in the UK, there's a lot of amazing local florists that you can go to. And the flowers here are not expensive at all. And so it's amazing. Like I'll go once a week and buy a bouquet of flowers of just whatever's in season. And oftentimes there will be like a rose or something in there. And I'll take that rose out and I will dry out the petals or I'll just put them fresh into my bath. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some glamour magic or ways that we can... ways that we can incorporate mundane magic in our daily appearance. So one of the ways that we can do that is in makeup. And with makeup, one of the things that I have actually not done, but whenever I was researching this, I thought, why not? I'm totally going to do this the next time I buy something new. Or even I bet you can even just do this with any makeup that you have. If you want to imbue any sort of moon magic into them, lay your makeup on your windowsill inside your home on a full moon and do a little manifestation work over it. Just come up with an affirmation or a manifestation that you really want to see related to your makeup or just for glamour magic in itself. It could be anything, but what comes to my mind or what I would do would be something about self-confidence or just finding that inner beauty. Lay out your makeup on your windowsill and then the next day or whenever, you go to wear makeup again, put it on and see how it works for you.
It's really interesting because I've never even thought of that, but that is like a really common practice with crystals. Is you put your crystals in your windowsill in the moonlight and cleanse them and recharge them and stuff. So that's interesting. You can use your makeup to draw sigils or symbols like on your face, like with your foundation, and then blend it in with your intentions. It's like often just referred to as a form of glamour magic because it acts as a glamour over our natural appearance.
I really like that idea. I have not done that, but I've seen it done on like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never actually done it. But I would be interested in trying that just to see, if that helps, especially if it's something where, say, if I was super self-conscious about my appearance that day, or if I had something big going on, I had to talk in front of a large crowd because I get a lot of social anxiety whenever I'm talking in front of crowds. I think that that might be a really good way to incorporate glamour magic into an everyday practice.
And you don't even have to draw symbols or sigils if you don't want to. You could just, while you're putting your makeup on, think about the intention that you are what you're trying to feel. I also read choosing your clothing to reflect your intention, which I guess I never really thought about it. Usually I'm like, oh, it's cold, I put on a sweater, or, oh, I really feel like wearing green today. But if you ask yourself like how you want to feel or what do you want your energy to reflect, choose clothing that shows that. So an example would be like wearing green or gold to for attraction and prosperity, and then carrying specific crystals with you or wearing them like in your jewelry. And examples of that, again, would be green adventuring for attracting growth and success, argonite for truthful intentions, or tiger's eye for protection. You can also add accessories to your hair. It could be something as simple as just braiding your intentions into like a small braid that maybe you even tuck underneath where people can't see it, or just braid your whole hair if you want to. But some people will hide braids like underneath. And they put I'm pointing like people on the podcast listening to the podcast can see, but like braiding it like behind your ear, but underneath the top layer of your hair so that it's kind of hidden. You can also do things like add feathers Feathers are believed to carry your thoughts and your intentions. So you can put feathers in your hair, braid them in. That was like what really popular in the 90s. Feather extensions. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can do something else with sigils, whether you put it into your clothes. If you sew, you can sew them, like sew a sigil or a symbol into your clothes, or something as simple as just drawing them on the bottom of your shoes so that you're stepping towards your intentions.
One of the things too that you mentioned with jewelry is you don't even have to use crystals. You can, if there is a ring or a necklace or earrings, whatever you wear every day, you can use it as a talisman and imbue your own manifestation or intention into that and wear it every day as a way to guard against any sort of negativity or whatever that manifestation or that intention is. You can use just any sort of jewelry that you have as a way to bring that into you, because you're using your own energy to impart some sort of intention into it. And then, with crystals, for instance, I gifted recently my daughter. She has a lot of issues with her expressing her own thoughts and feelings and emotions in a clear and concise way. And so I bought her and gifted her a blue lace agate necklace. And so that way, if, she wears it and she understands what that crystal is for and how to manifest it into just her conversations, especially because if she's feeling like what she's saying is not being heard correctly, or she's not unable to express it the way she wants to, wearing that necklace can give her more confidence and her ability to communicate with others. And there's also, tons and tons of different resources for crystals, but a crystal that I use, like if I know that I'm going to be public speaking, because public speaking, like I mentioned, I have a lot of social anxiety. I have an amethyst necklace that I will wear. I will use that as a calming energy to where I can think about what I'm going to say in front of large crowds, not get too anxious or overwhelmed with the fact that I'm speaking in front of a large crowd, and it helps.
I like to wear hematite rings if I'm going into situations where I know that it's like I get anxious or like there's a potential for like bad energy. I'll wear hematite rings, and my last one broke. So,
oh no,
it's supposed to mean when a hematite ring or necklace or whatever, just regular stone breaks, it means that it absorbed all the negative energy that was being thrown at you. And you're supposed to bury it. So I have lots of those buried.
People need to stop throwing their negative energy at you.
I know. Look, I'm just trying to exist. So another thing that you can do that's really easy is called grounding. Basically, you're just connecting yourself and your energy to the earth by planting your bare feet into the ground. So, if you're just at home, if you have a yard that you can do this in, just take your shoes off, take your socks off, and just go put your toes in the grass and connect with the energies and the vibrations from the earth. And this can help like boost your mood and just kind of recharge you. This is something that we talked about wanting to do a full episode on later, because there's a lot of in-depth information that we can go into for grounding. So we'll do that in a full episode later, but just something to be aware of if you're just kind of, feeling a little down or just needing to like clear your mind. Just take your shoes off and put them in the grass. Just connect with the earth and kind of recharge yourself.
Another thing that we are going to have an episode on actually next week is over mindfulness. I'm not going to go into depth on anything related to mindfulness because we are going to have a whole episode about it next week. But it is important to note that mindfulness can be used in everyday mundane magic. And there's so many scientifically proven benefits regarding mindfulness practices. And just be aware that if you are incorporating mindfulness into your everyday routines, that is an amazing way to harness that energy that you already have and to practice mundane magic.
The next thing that we can talk about in mundane magic is just cleaning. Cleaning is a really simple way to just clear out the energy, reorganize, and just reset yourself. and kind of put your intentions into your space. Something as simple as using a broom to sweep out negative or stagnant energies in your house. Just open your door or windows and sweep it outside. You can also use a bell to clear stagnant energy from a room. We talked about this on our last episode, but using smoke cleansing to clear a room, or they make like cleansing sprays as well that you can use. And then I talked about earlier doing floor washes. You can make these yourself with herbs, or you can purchase them. A lot of metaphysical shops carry stuff like Florida water that you can use in your cleaning. A simple practice of just decluttering your space, getting rid of things that you no longer need, rearrange a space so that it feels more organized and calming to you. All items in your space hold energy, so clear out the things that you no longer want or need to help clear that unwanted energy.
Yes, exactly. And then with those added herbs or with Florida water, essential oils, anything that you add into your water, you can also use, like we had talked about before, with the sigil working or using clockwise or counterclockwise moves with your mop or your vacuum or your broom or whatever you're using. You can also use that as a way to manifest protection, or if you're wanting to sweep out, you were saying, negative energy, or you're wanting to bring in more positivity or more prosperity into your home, you can use whatever tool you're using, whether it be the mop or the broom or the vacuum, as a way to draw that sigil on your floor. Or as you're sweeping or mopping, sweep or mop in a clockwise direction to bring in prosperity, or counterclockwise to bring out negative energy out of your home. And that's a really good way to use magic in the everyday, because it does, like we had said before, it doesn't have to be something as complicated as buying all this equipment and using an athame, or, setting or casting a circle or anything like that. It can be just something that you do every day to get your head into that magical space.
I feel like one of the most underrated things is dandelions. Like almost everybody, spring, summer, will have dandelions in their yard, and they like de-weed or like mow over them or whatever, when you can go out there and pick them and steep them in, warm water, let the water cool, and use that for cleaning. You can use it to draw protection sigils or symbols, just sprinkling it with your fingers in high traffic areas to clear out stagnant energy and put protection around the house. A lot of stuff that you can do this with, you already have. A lot of just everyday herbs and seasonings are what are used to do these types of things. Bay or rosemary. Rosemary is one of those that you can kind of substitute in for almost anything.
Yeah. And then
salt. Everybody has salt.
Exactly. Salt is amazing. And you can use it for protective spells. You can use it. I use salt a lot. If I'm trying to do a protection bowl or like a cleansing bowl, you can use salt in those bowls.
Yeah.
Salt is amazing. And there's so many magical qualities in using salt.
I salt my doorsteps once a month.
Yes, it is amazing to keep bad energy out. I will say, don't put it on the ground because it will soak into the dirt and it's not great for the earth, but put it on your concrete door barriers. It's amazing.
I do it on the threshold of our door, and then we have a concrete porch that goes into concrete steps. So there's a lot of space between where I put the salt and my dirt.
Exactly. Yes.
So I salt our doors, and then I blow cinnamon out the front door because it's supposed to attract luck and prosperity. So
yes, I do cinnamon as well. The cool thing about cinnamon too is if you sprinkle it in your doorway area, it also keeps ants away. So bringing in that luck and prosperity, and also keeping away pests.
Something too, like just keeping a rosemary bush at your front door to like ward off evil or like bad energies. I haven't done that. I read it somewhere, probably when I was doing research for this. But,
I've read about that too. Unfortunately, unless we plant it in just a planter, I don't know if we could get away with having it since we don't own our house. But that is definitely, you could even, if say you live in an apartment or something, get a rosemary plant and put it by your front door. I mean, same thing. You don't have to have, own your own home or have all this money to do these sort of practices. You can do it with anything.
Yeah. And of course, if you rent and you don't own your home, sometimes just ask your landlord. We've done that in the past where it was like we wanted to have a garden and an herb garden. And we just asked the landlord, hey, like this is exactly what we want to do. Is this okay? And they were actually really cool with it. So, and then like with the last two, like salting the doorstep and blowing cinnamon, I set a reminder in my phone. So it like reminds me I think I have it just as the first Friday of the month. I'll get a reminder like, oh, salt your doorstep.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I should do that because I feel like I'm really chaotic with my practices because I'll just think, oh man, it's been a while. Let me go ahead and do this.
Yeah. But you know me, I'm like, keep all the bad out of my house.
Yes.
So that's one thing that I'm like, every month on the dot, I need to salt the doorstep. Super easy, not expensive. You probably already have those ingredients in your cupboard.
Exactly. Yes. Another thing that you can do to just bring in the mundane into an everyday practice is participating in a daily divination practice. So this can be something as simple as using a pendulum. You don't have to go out and buy a pendulum. I've seen it used before and it's pretty simple, but I don't even have one of those. So it doesn't even have to be something like that. But if you are interested in daily divination practices, I know that that's supposed to be one of the easiest things that you can do is purchasing a pendulum and just asking yes or no questions and using the pendulum that way. But one of the things that I do is using tarot cards, and you can do a daily pull, and essentially what you'll do is you just shuffle the cards, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't even have to worry about reading reversals or anything. Just shuffle them like you would a playing deck of cards. Maybe cut the deck a couple of times, rearrange the deck a little bit, and then pull a card out that you're just really feeling for that day. Look at the card. And one of the cool things about it is practicing tarot and getting more comfortable with tarot. It really helps with your intuition. So obviously with tarot cards, if you purchase a tarot deck or if you're gifted a tarot deck or however you obtain one, there should be a list of all of the cards and what their meanings are and what the symbols that you should be looking for in each card, what those symbols mean. But a lot of it is based on your intuition. And so what I like to do is draw that card, look at it, jot down on a piece of paper or in your phone or wherever what jumps out at you. What symbols do you focus on? What do you think they mean? And then go back afterwards and then look up what the actual meaning of the card is based on that deck and what the book is that comes with that deck states. And then don't think about the card. At the end of the day, go back and reference what you have written down and what, just based on the notes that you've taken and based on what you've read about that card, go back and look at what you've written down and see, does that card resonate with anything that happened with you today? Did that influence anything? Did any of it make sense with how you led your day? Did it bring about anything that you maybe thought that you were manifesting? Or did it have anything to do with, was the card that you pulled that day, was a message helpful in any way? And this can be a great way, if you practice this daily, to get really good at interpreting your tarot deck, getting really comfortable with interpreting your tarot deck, but then also incorporating ritual every day that is magical and it helps your intuition, and it's awesome. And you can do this with runes too, but I don't know very much about runes. So
I feel like this will be a whole nother episode because there are so many different forms of divination and everyone has a different way that they use them. Just don't overcomplicate it for yourself. Like, especially when you're just starting, like Sam said, just, draw a single card and write down everything that you remember about that card, like how it makes you feel, those kinds of things, versus having to feel like you have to get everything perfect based on what someone else does or something else that you read. Keep it simple.
Yeah. And you don't have to do like a whole, because if you look on Pinterest or something, you'll see full on like spreads of this is a daily spread that you should do. don't even worry about that. Just pull one card and connect with that card. See what jumps out at you, and then go from there and live your day, and then go back at night and maybe reflect on that card and see what that meant for you that day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be this whole drawn out ordeal. It can just be like a 20-minute time out of your day.
Another thing you've probably heard of at some point, whether it was in a TV show or someone just saying it, like the law of attraction or affirmations. So these are super easy ways that you can incorporate a little bit of witchcraft in your day. With the law of attraction, the universe responds to how we think and feel. So our thoughts can influence like our own lives and our surroundings. I swear, Anthony laughs at me all the time because he'll be like, oh, this would be really cool to have. Or, oh, it'd be really cool to, take this vacation or whatever. And I'm always like, put it out into the universe. Put it out there. Let's get it out there and make it happen. And he just laughs. And now he's at the point now where he's like, he'll say things and be like, we're just putting it out in the universe. So saying it, and like, there's like a power to words, right? You say it, you speak it into existence. And then not only are you getting the universe to respond to you, but you're also kind of keeping it at the forefront of your mind, which is going to make you more reactive to trying to make sure that it does happen. And then affirmations, they're like the easiest thing. It's something that you could do pretty much anywhere, whether you're in the bathroom getting ready, if car driving to work or to the grocery store or wherever. You just say something that resonates with what you're trying to do. So an example that I wrote down was, I create my own reality. They could also be something like, I love myself, or I'm beautiful, or I'm powerful. So just saying these things over and over again. And it's kind of just, again, using the power of words and speaking them into existence, saying them out loud. It's just, there's a power to saying something out loud. This particular practice can help change a person's thought process and can even help combat things like depression or anxiety. It can increase a person's confidence and improve your own mental health overall.
And I think it's important to point out too that it's not even just the positive things that we say that can affect our reality, but it's also the negative things too. And so oftentimes, like if I've noticed like my children or my husband being very pessimistic about something, I will just tell them, don't even speak that into existence. Like, don't even say the words, because you're creating that negativity and allowing it to fester in a space that there's, in my opinion, there's no need for. And then also too, this reminds me a lot of New Year's resolutions. And so with New Year's resolutions, we are resolving to change certain habits or changing the way that we look or feel or whatever the goal is. But if you're wanting to speak it into existence, don't say, by this time next year, I will be blah, 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 blah. Speak it into existence in the now. Like, I can do a pull-up, or I can speak publicly, or I have a successful podcast. Like, whatever it is that you are speaking into existence, have it be spoken into the present and not as a future thing. And that's something that I always try to do.
That makes me think everyone sets a New Year's resolution, right? They'll be like, January 1st. Okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by this date. And then a lot of times people like fail. They don't like keep up with it. I wonder if it's because of the way they say it versus, you could say something like, I am healthy or something.
Right. Yeah.
Versus saying in the next 3 months, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Just say like, I'm healthy, I'm happy, or whatever.
Yeah, because you're not like, you're putting a future date on, by this point, I will be living into that life, as opposed to now I am living into this life. And especially if that resolution or that affirmation or manifestation is something that you want now, you should start living into it now, living how you would be living if you were at your goal weight, or you were in a particular profession, or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. So I do think that has something to do with it, and why people aren't as successful as they would be if they just, instead of saying, by summer, I'm going to be a size 4, live into it as, I am at a healthy body weight now, and living into that.
It's interesting to think about.
It really is. Yeah. And then I think one of the last things that we want to talk about on this episode is just looking up a way to incorporate mundane magic into your entire year. And so one of the easiest ways you can do this is looking up moon cycles and looking up pagan wheel of the year cycles. And so if you didn't know, there is the pagan wheel of the year, and it correlates to different holidays and seasons that just encompass the whole year on a pagan calendar. And one of the ways that you can incorporate this into your daily life and use this as a way to incorporate more mundane magic into the everyday is figuring out where we are now as it relates to the pagan wheel of the year. Which holiday does this correspond to? And what are the signs of nature that you can use or that you can see outside that correspond to this time of year? Can you use that in a ritual practice? Can you use that in, say, if you wanted to create an altar, you can use different signs that you're seeing outside to create that altar. Or right now, as we're recording this, it's February. One of the holidays that just came around on the pagan wheel of the year is Imbolc. And one of the signs that you should see outside for Imbolc is snowdrops, and it's supposed to signal the start of spring. And that's one of the flowers that I've seen a lot where we're at. And so while walking, you don't even have to pick the flower. I never picked the flower, and I didn't bring it in to use on my altar or anything like that, which you could if you wanted to. But whenever I'm on walks or just if I notice it outside, I always think to myself, oh my God, it's snowdrops. And this reminds me of Imbolc. So that's just another way to be more in tune with what's going on in nature. Another, I guess, even simpler way to keep up with a cycle would be understanding moon cycles and just knowing when is the next full moon, when is the next new moon. What does this correlate to? How does my body feel during these moon cycles? And
I'm the worst with that, but I am one of those people that's like, oh, look at the moon like every day. So I am so bad at knowing like what phase of the moon we're in or when the next full moon is, but I am the first one to be outside being like, look at the moon, guys.
Right. Yeah. I'm really bad at that too. And I feel like I keep seeing this meme that goes around, I guess, on Instagram. Every time it's around a full moon, I'll see it posted all the time, where it's just like being a witch is collecting lots of jars and then constantly asking, tonight's a full moon. What? Because it just sneaks up on you. But but you can even, which this was something I've been wanting to do, and I bought a planner specifically for this, and I haven't done it yet. But you can even just take your daily planner, or even if you have your calendar app on your phone, and sync it with a moon app, or just draw on your calendar when the next full moon or new moon, whatever the moon cycle is during that time. And
I think with the iPhone, there's even an option in the calendar. I don't think it tracks like all the moon phases, but it'll track when the next new moon is.
Oh,
because
nice.
I think I probably saw it and was like, ooh, and clicked it. But every now and then my calendar will pop up and be like, it's a full moon or it's a new moon. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
That's awesome. I need to figure that out, and I bet there's even a widget or an app or whatever that you can download and sync it with your calendar to let you know when what moon cycle we're in right now is. So just amazing.
I'm terrible at that. I never know when it even is on my calendar somehow. And I'm still like, what?
Right. Yeah. I don't even know. I have no clue. I couldn't even tell you what the moon is tonight.
I can tell you when I see it. Look at the moon.
Look at the moon. Yeah. So don't, take our advice, but then also do better than us, because we don't really know.
What is the saying? It's like, do as you're told, not as I do.
Oh, yes. Do as I say, not as I do. Basically. But
unless you're a hot mess like us. And then if you are a hot mess, that's okay. Welcome to the club.
Exactly. Welcome to the club. You are wanted. You are appreciated. And with all of these things, it is a lot of information. We went over so much, and you don't have to do all of these things. We talked about, you're amazing and wonderful with herbs and making tinctures and teas and salves and bath teas and all sorts of things. Those are things that I love, but I don't know as much about. And so you can take from whatever practice what you will and just kind of make your own So,
but again, do it safely when you're doing herbs.
Exactly. Do it safely.
And don't just ingest things without knowing.
No, don't do that. Please do your research and just understand what you're doing. Make notes.
Take lots of notes. Read lots of books. Do lots of research.
Yes.
That's basically your life if this is what you want to
do. That is true. And on that note, I guess that's the end.
That's it on Mundane Magic.
That's it for this episode of Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft. You can find our source material for this episode linked in the show notes. If you love this episode, we would be forever thankful if you leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you really love the show and want more Get In Loser content, check out our Supercast link provided in the show notes, or search the Supercast website for Get In Loser, We're Doing Witchcraft. There you can purchase a membership to our podcast and obtain exclusives like getting episodes early, shoutouts on the show, access to our Ask Me Anything forum, our monthly newsletter, a promo code for merchandise, and more.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Get In Witches, or email us at weirddoingwitchcraft@gmail.com. Check us out next week where we'll sit down and explore meditation. Until then, blessed be witches.